this video, I'm going to show you how you can use a slice craft knife to create fur and other details with your colored pencil drawings. Drawing fur with colored pencils can be a time-consuming process because you have to use multiple layers of different colors to achieve the end result color of the fur once it's finished, and then factor in the techniques to drawing realistic fur. So we'd all like an easier way or helpful way to draw fur, right? A slice tool comes in really handy to help with the fur drawing process and is a relatively inexpensive tool you can get. You can also use an X-Acto knife as well, but it doesn't work quite as well as the slice tool because you have to be careful with the sharp tip so that you don't end up damaging your paper. There are multiple different versions of the slice tool available. The one that works best for colored pencil drawings is the number 10518 model because it has a rounded tip, which works fantastic for scraping off colored pencils without damaging the paper. You can get this slice tool on Amazon for under $15, which I will have a link to in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. Now let's get into how you can use this wonderful tool for your drawings. The first thing that I feel is very important to know before you start using a slice tool is that the type of paper you use matters a lot on how effectively you can use the slice tool. Papers that are more textured or have more tooth to the paper do not work very well for this technique, so you can still do it, but it just doesn't work as good as it does when you use a smoother paper type. So I recommend using at least Bristol vellum paper or hot pressed watercolor paper for this to work right for you, because vellum and hot pressed paper is in between really smooth and medium texture. If you use too smooth of paper for colored pencils, you won't be able to get hardly any layers on your drawings, and we want layers, right? So stick to a type of vellum surface for the best results. Now I'm going to show you how you can use this slice tool. There are a few ways that you can. One is to draw whiskers or light colored hairs. This only works if you have one layer of colored pencil on the paper and have not used solvent to blend with yet. Once you apply a layer of colored pencil to your paper, it transfers pigments that cannot be removed or erased, and this is why we have to always preserve the whites of our paper if we are drawing anything that is white. So in order to get close to white or light colored hairs with your drawing using this way with the slice tool, you can't have a lot of heavy or dark color layers on top. If you keep scraping, you'll end up damaging your paper as well. This means that this technique is only useful for some things because most colored pencil drawings take at least 3 or more layers of different colors to get the right color needed. And if you need something to be white, it is best to just preserve the white of your paper and be careful drawing around your white areas. The next way you can use a slice tool is to scrape off the top layer of colored pencil to create fur or other highlights, using the colors you need for the darker areas of your fur. Draw those details in and then use the slice tool to scrape off that top layer and reveal a lighter version of the color you had. I find that the way you hold the slice tool makes a difference as well. The way that works best for me is to hold it upside down with the blade pointing away from me and turned to the side. You will have to practice with how to hold it and what kind of effects you can get so you have a good feel for exactly how to use it on your drawings. It doesn't take much pressure at all to scrape off the top layer, and you want to be careful which way you hold it when you scrape because you can damage your paper. Also, just be careful to not scrape too much because if you continue scraping over and over, you will eventually scrape off actual pieces of your paper, and you don't want to do that because then when you try to draw details over it after, you won't really be able to get those in there because you've ruined the paper. Another way you can use it for fur is to get the color you need for your base layer or underlayer, blend that out with a solvent and let it dry. It is important that you use solvent because what it does is break down the binders of the colored pencil and allows the pigments to permeate into the paper more permanently, leaving very little top layer to scrape off. Then you add the colors you need to the shadows of the fur over that and start scraping off that top layer to create fur strokes, and it reveals that color that you blended down below it. Now, it is important to note that doing this, whatever color you add on top will transfer a bit of color to the revealed area you scraped off. So when you plan out your layers, you need to take this into account. Darker colors will transfer more and darken the undercolor you expose. You likely will never get an exact color match to what you were aiming for, but you can get very close. Now, there is another benefit to the slice tool that it can give you with your drawings, and I use this quite often, and that is to scrape off your mistakes. Instead of grabbing that eraser and smudging a larger area of my drawing, trying to erase a little line or a small dot, I find it much easier to just use my slice tool to scrape off that top layer instead. Using the slice tool for your drawings can be a bit of a learning curve, but the more you practice and experiment, you'll have it figured out. I sometimes find that some drawings have certain colors that would just be better to draw by hand to get them right instead of using a slice tool. So although this tool is great, I don't always use it for drawing hair or fur. For learning how to draw fur with or without a slice tool, I show you some techniques to drawing fur in the top right video. You can also learn a lot more to drawing wildlife and pets using colored pencils with my real-time 1 to 15 hour voiceover drawing tutorials on Patreon. Sign up and get instant access to a growing library of tutorials and new ones added each month. A link to my Patreon is in the description. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video.